traditional extension, we often think about taking information from academics to the farmer. And so it's that kind of one way we need to teach, educate practitioners out there about the latest innovative ways to do things. But I think what's interesting about this group is that we're trying to have a two-way conversation. So we're trying to give a space so that the researchers can actually listen to what farmers' needs are, so that the questions that researchers ask perhaps could be more relevant to some of the information that farmers are searching for. And so over time, I think it's grown to be less focused just on the climate information itself and more on the management options that people can choose from to be able to manage risk better. And so we focused on specific things like cover crops and subsurface drip irrigation and pond harvesting. And the way that we've tried to design the workshops is each time we'll have a field day and we'll go and specifically look at a management option that reduces climate-related risks. And then in the afternoon, we'll obviously get the forecast, which is what people are still interested in.
I was just invited to come to one in Camilla, Georgia some years ago. I don't even remember how far back it was. It was a long time ago. And I have really enjoyed it because it's made me think past the next thunderstorm that's going to come through. It made me think a little bit about, well, you know, what might the conditions be this fall? Or what might the conditions be next spring when it comes planting time? And I know that sometimes the summertime conditions are a little harder. Sometimes the conditions are kind of hard to deal with and make some predictions, but there's some pretty good science behind some of this stuff.
You know, when we got some of the weather data and the forecast, you know, it probably didn't change what we were going to plant. But it could affect the timing of the planting. You know, if there was a pretty good chance that it may rain early or it may rain late, we would change our planting dates accordingly. Nobody really knows for sure when it's going to rain and when it's not. But if there's an educated guess to be made, we'll go with that educated guess.
With the climate groups about 4 years ago, and I've attended about 8 meetings. 8 meetings now, and it's been a really interesting group to work with. Well, I think that the value of this group to me as an extension educator, you know, as a professional in agriculture, I think has been the fact that we can learn and take climate and weather concepts and apply them to real farm situations, analyze information, and then also the aspect of visiting farms, you know, and looking at things they are doing or approaches they are taking to mitigate weather extremes. So all that together has a great value for an extension, you know, for extension professionals.
I enjoy coming and listening to our forecast for the season, you know, what kind of season we're going to have, you know, and I enjoy being on the front end of things. You know, are we going to adjust what we're planting based off of our forecast, where it's going to be dry or it's going to be cool and wet, or, you know, so I enjoy that aspect of it, and I have seen some changes, and I enjoy looking at the new tools as we come up with new tools online, and so using some of those in the family farm and helping advise other farmers to use it, because, you know, if we don't use it on our family farm, I don't want to advise anybody to use it out there. So, you know, I like getting a couple of years under the belt and trying it on the family farm, and then, you know, helping advise farmers of how to use these tools to hopefully make their farm better.
I thought that it was a great opportunity. when I got the invitation to be part of the Tri-State Climate Group. Why was that? Because I was already trying to start this dialogue with farmers and extension agents on the importance of using climate information as support for row crops management. But I already encountered some barriers when talking about those topics. So I said, okay, this can be a support group, and it can help me learning how to address these issues, and also learning how the farmers think, and what is the importance of climate in their operation or the daily activities they do around the farm. So I thought that it was a good learning opportunity for me.
My first time at the Row Crop Climate Learning Network was in, I think, August of 2011. The questions that come from producers are the questions that researchers often don't hear. And so these new kinds of questions, particularly about, it kind of starts with a management option, like high residue cover crops. And a lot of producers got into that because they didn't want to see their soil washing into the creeks anymore. So erosion is a big control. And so we've thought about rainfall intensity, and there was some discussion at one of the meetings about rainfall intensity and if there have been any changes, or some of the producers came with like their records of like this much rainfall in this month and how normal or not normal is that. And so we put together a little bit of research based on their questions about rainfall intensity and found some really interesting things, that in the last 30 years there have been a lot more extreme rainfall events, a lot more high intensity events than there were in the 30 years before that. And that might be, and we've seen that in other parts of the world, and that's part of climate change in a lot of places, and it might be something that persists, or it might be something that doesn't persist, but it's something that's been observed in recent decades, and there are management strategies that people are doing, in this group, that are sort of, reducing the impacts of these high intensity rains. And so that's been a great thing to learn about, and it has, it's improved the research I've been able to do and helped me, it's given me interesting questions to investigate.